Let us go back 10 years ago to the old days of YouTube. Man, was there anything better than a lazy Sunday afternoon and you just bought yourself a new gun or a new knife or something you really wanted, and then the first thing you do is to go back up to your office and start searching videos of guys that would do reviews of the very thing you just bought, hoping for some confirmation that you were wise. It's kind of a funny thing because it's you find someone that does a video on something that they're as excited about as you are, and there's that camaraderie. There's almost, dare I say, a brotherhood. So, we're not going to talk about that today. A couple weeks ago, maybe a week ago or so, the nice folks at Benchmade sent me an email, and they said, "You have been saying such nice things about our knives for so many years. We wanted to say thank you. Can we send you a knife? We'd like to send you a bug out, the new bug out." And I said, "Man, that would be great. And you know what would be better?" And they said, "What's that?" And I said, "If you sent two. One for Mrs. W, of course." Here we go. So when we purchased our 940, we told our wives this is the last knife we'll ever need. Last one I ever need. Anything we had to do to justify the purchase price of nearly $200 for a pocket knife. But the thing about it, I think we'd all have to agree, those of us that are 940 Benchmade fanboys, which I am the chief of sinners, love this knife as much today as we did the very first day we bought it. And for some of us, that was over 10 years ago. Beautiful knife. I was hearing some rumors about this, and I saw that several folks that had done videos on them, but I resisted watching any of them. I even refused to watch Nut and Fancy's review on this very same knife right here. And I think the reason why was when I saw the picture of it, I liked it. I thought it looked beautiful, and so I put it in the back of my mind, and I didn't continue to pursue it or even look at it because I didn't want to sow any seeds of dissatisfaction with my current favorite knife. Right? So when Benchmade sent these two out, that was a perfect reason, a perfect excuse for us to look at it. And I know people don't like guys talking about reviews of knives or such that they don't pay for, and I get that. But let me ask you a question. If they'd offered to send these two knives to you, would you have turned them down? Well, we all know the answer to that. So let's take a look at it. This is the Benchmade bug out, and when I first took it out of the bag, I've had it for 24 hours now. When I first took it out of the bag, of course, you're met with a little bit of disappointment in that it's got that plasticky handle feel that we're so used to from the Griptilian series, right? And the Griptilians are wonderful knives, great price point, but never to be considered equal to a more premium knife like the 940 that we're used to. So that's the initial reaction. And then we open it up, and I'll be darned if there's not a little anodized blue thumb stud on there. It's just cute as a bug's ear, as my granddad used to say. And that, to us, reminds us of premium, right? Because is it the Savenza, Chris Reeves knife? That expensive knife that none of us would ever buy, but we could admire from the videos. That has a thumb stud blue like that as well, and we like that. Then you feel the back of that blade, and the first word that comes to mind is it's soft. Everything I touch on the knife is soft, and that may sound strange, but there are no hard edges on it. but it's not overly done like those Kershaw Skylines where someone's taken a grinder and just rounded that over hard and taken away all of the detail and the facets and the edges. It's done so well. It's that bevel so smooth that it just has the feeling, the whole thing has a feeling of softness and gentleness, and a pocket knife that's going to be comfortable in the pocket. And then we look at the blade shape, and the blade shape is all of the things that we wished we would have had on the 940. If you want to find the quickest way to become dissatisfied with this knife, you put one of these in your hands. It's just incredible. They're so similar. They're so much alike in so many ways, in all the good ways. But this one, the bug out even goes further and kind of compensates for those things that we don't like about the 940 and will age it. For example, a closed-in knife there that fills with lint and debris from your pocket. It's kind of old-fashioned looking now. Now that we look at these modern, I guess we would some sort of like a pillar design, a free flow design where things can pass through. And then we can't deny that the blade shape of the 940 has never been ideal. Strong, good for prying off paint cans, but not good for food preparation, for cutting apples or spreading butter or peanut butter, or even lacking of a point that you can use to get a sliver out, which is, I would say by and large for me, the most things I use my knife on more than anything is food preparation and digging slivers out of my fingers. And this knife has never been good for that, but we loved it so much that we just gave it a pass and kind of blamed our own lack of ability of sharpening for its point or lack thereof, which it can never have because of the thickness. And so we have that nice point and a blade that's just beautiful. It's easy to see why anyone who's drawn to the 940 is going to be drawn to this knife, because there's so many similarities. It's almost as if this is in the same lineage. One of those things, all of these features that keep coming about, that take away or that are, I guess, cover up my disappointment with that handle, are the serrations here on the top. Is that not directly from our 940? So we have that. That's a comforting thing right there. We also have the fact that both of these knives are very, very light. They're very similar in length. And that lightness is due to the very similar construction. We have the liners, rather than going full length here, recessed into the plastic exactly as it was done with the 940. And that way we had a less steel and more aluminum, and that's what makes this knife so light. And this is even lighter. Move back to the handle and just looking at the whole thing overall, it's not a bold knife. It's not groundbreaking or it's just so classic. And some folks have said in the past, the perfect design is when you reach a point with a product or something that there's nothing left to take away. It's been stripped down to its bare necessity, its bare essentials, and that's the feeling that this gives you. A knife in perfect proportion, size, weight, and the design is beautiful. There's not too much curve. It's very simple. The handle is simple. It's almost a simple rectangle, but yet it carries that same line that we would see on the Benchmade Infidel, which we don't have, but would like to have, but would never buy because they're ridiculous and expensive. But it's like that, and that's beautiful as well. Well, and just when I think that this blue thumb stud couldn't get any better, you look in there and there are those beautiful blue anodized pillars. They just give you this feeling of strength, like two little tiny Roman or Greek columns that are standing there sturdy, supporting the foundation of your knife. But the fact that there's two is a little bothersome because it doesn't seem balanced to me. Because a two-legged stool, you ever try to sit in one? But a three-legged stool, that's a stool that a man can sit in, and I would prefer to have three pillars in there supporting the foundation of the knife. But because they did anodize them blue and the shape is beautiful, we'll give that a pass. And I still like it. I was wondering a little bit about that black hardware. My initial thought on this was, I don't like it. That should not be black. That should have been silver or more in line with the color of the blade. But after living with it and playing with it and holding it for a couple hours, I've changed my mind, and I think the black is entirely appropriate because the star of the whole show is that beautiful stone-washed blade, but not overly stone-washed, with that blue stud. And that handle is nothing but a supporting character or cast that is essential, but doing nothing to take away from the beauty of that blade. S30V. The black hardware is nice. It's got an unusual lanyard hole. I immediately liked it when I saw it. It gave me the feeling of, it just felt kind of sporty. Like this is a real lanyard hole, more than just a hole drilled into the back of a knife, but almost the shape of a carabiner, and that gives you kind of a sporty feel. It's big enough that you can kind of imagine, running a real proper piece of cordage through there, or 800 feet up on the side of El Capitan and hanging by webbing and ropes. The type of rope that you would use up there is the type of rope that would fit in there, and you like that. That's nice. But it's delicate too because it's so thin. No pocket clip, of course. I do believe pocket clips have been invented by knife manufacturers so that we lose our knives. Because if you go into the brush or the bushes at all, that pocket clip hanging out, it snags on everything, and I've lost a lot of knives like that. So we don't use pocket clips in this house anymore, and I haven't lost a Benchmade since I took the pocket clips off of it. But if you do want one, it's of course excellent because it is a deep carry. But I won't put that on there. It truly is a beautiful and special thing. This is the first knife from Benchmade since the 940 that I can honestly say has given me the fizz. It's just gorgeous. I mean, what has Benchmade done since between the 940 and this that really has been outstanding? I couldn't tell you. I couldn't even tell you outside the Griptilian line, which has been very widely popular. But the Griptilians were never, I never liked them. I've had the large and the small because the small was too small and the large was too big. And what was needed was something in between, and that's what this is. It's neither too big nor too small. And it is, you won't believe how light it is. When they sent the email, maybe I mentioned this already, I said, that would be great. They said, could we send a knife? I said, that would be great. You know what would be better? And they said, what? If you could send two. One for Mrs. W, of course. I think I mentioned. So here's the other one they sent. I had a painted blade on a Benchmade one time, and on a McHenry, I think it was. And they look really great when they're new, but they look pretty bad after a couple years use. But that is pretty. It's not black, it's almost a bronze color, which they've matched perfectly to those little serrations there. Desert tan color with that bronze hardware and the gold thumb stud. That is sharp. Black hardware, of course. Gold pillars. And it's cool, but it can't be compared with this one. In my opinion, anyway. Axis lock. Best folding lock, or best locking mechanism on a folding knife ever made, no matter what you say. When you take everything into consideration, people will say, well, this, this lock or the cold steel lock or whatever. But when it comes, if you take the knife as a whole, and just, you have to factor in the enjoyability. The Axis lock is the funnest lock to play with. And that's a big part of owning one of these EDC knives, is the joy that comes from just handling it, and fondling it. And oftentimes when I'm bored or I'm driving, I'll flip the knife. It's a pleasure to do, and the Axis lock is the best there is for that. Right or left doesn't make any difference. It doesn't discriminate. It's the same for everyone. I mean, what you have here is just a beautiful, magnificently designed and built pocket knife, EDC knife. And the addition, I guess, on top of all that, the thing just turns me on. It just gives me the fizz. It gives me the same thing that I have that I get from the 940. And that's saying a lot, because it's got a plastic handle on it. If you would have asked me before I had seen this, knowing what it is, if these two, for me, would be in the same category, I would have said no. But it is. And I think the fact that it has a blade shape that is so much superior for day-to-day use, everyday use, over the 940, that more, for me, that almost more than compensates for it. But I've had it for 24 hours, and it's impossible to say. I don't think that I could give you I don't think that I could answer the question, is this knife going to is it able to replace the 940? Well, let me say it like this. Had Benchmade not sent these, would I have went out and bought one? Having this? No, absolutely not. Now here's the tough question. If tomorrow let's say I were to lose this knife, or it was to break, or something happened to it, and I needed to replace it, and I was given a choice between these two knives right here, all things being equal, which they're not, this is still more expensive. All things being equal, which knife would I leave with? Which knife would I have that warm, fuzzy feeling with, as I'm playing with it in the car after purchasing it from the store, right? And I don't know that I could answer that either. Because this has the newness, the glow all over it still, and I haven't lived with it in a real-world environment. This is an old friend to me. I know everything about it. There are no surprises here, but this one still has surprises that have yet to manifest itself to me. Whether for good or for bad, who can say? Yeah, who can say? So to answer that question, I would need to carry this for, I would say, a month, 4 weeks before, and that'd have to be exclusively before I could answer that question. Which one? Because I don't feel that I am unbiased enough right now to give an accurate conclusion. So let's revisit this. We'll come back in a month or two after we've had some time to use this in everything from food preparation to cutting wire to digging slivers to all of the things that a guy uses his pocket knife for. But it is beautiful. All right, well, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Some musings on a potential new EDC knife. I'm going to carry it, and I'll get back to you on this. See you guys in the next video.